surprise my daughter. All rise, salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of our veterans, our servicemen and servicewomen, and those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. Clerk will call the roll. Before we begin, just remind everybody, just keep your cell phone to a silent, and if anybody's eating cookies, I will fine you by taking the box from you. Mark Rumley.
Cologne Hayes. Condon. Yeah. Crow. Yeah. Linehan.
She's
She's here somewhere.
She's here.
McDonald. Murphy. O'Malley. Sika. Here. Simonelli. Winslow. Spatafora.
Spatafora here. First order of business. Guest, citizen achievement, and announcements. There are none, right?
No public comment.
And there's no public comment. We checked. Next order of business.
Paper 523-22, minutes of the meeting of December 13, 2022.
Motion to approve.
Okay, I didn't see any. Okay, on Councilor Seeker's motion approved. Was that seconded by any here? Council, seconded by Councilor Winslow. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Minutes pass. Next order of business.
Paper 524-22, appointment, council reappointment, Lisa Cagno of 31 Quincy Street as clerk of committees. Set term to expire December 31st, 2023.
Vice Chair is Council Linehan, right?
Yes, sorry.
No, that's, Council Assembly's not here, so I will go to the Vice Chair.
Do we need a motion to refer?
Do you want to, go ahead.
Or are we voting on the floor? I'm fine to vote on the floor.
Yeah, we've, in the past.
Yeah, that sounds fine. Motion to appoint.
Second.
Okay, any questions on the committee? So just everybody out there and who's might be watching, because this is a current employee, and we have done this in the past, we will make a motion on the floor instead of going to committee to reappoint in the floor. So on Council Linehan's, I want to make sure there's no lights, Council Linehan's motion to reappoint Lisa Cagno, said term to expire December 31st, 2023, seconded by Council O'Malley. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Is that a roll call? No. Okay, I want to make sure, okay. Next order of business. Oh, she is here. Congratulations, Lisa.
Hey, Lisa.
It was a very anticlimactic reappointment, so sorry about that. No, it's not you. It was, I should have acknowledged too. Thank you. Congratulations, I think. That's why you're here. Thank you, Council. I appreciate it. Next order of business.
Paper 525-22, order that the council approve the 2023 schedule of council meetings.
Oh, this is a good one. Does everybody want to take a look at the schedule of council meetings? Because I know this was a topic last year. Do you have it?
I do, yeah, it was sent out. Yeah, I did check Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and,
Does it fall any other holidays that we know of?
no, I checked.
Okay. I didn't look, I'll be honest with you. Council McDonald, you have a question?
I agree. I looked it also.
Okay.
It also does not fall on Eid, which is the
Oh, yeah.
celebration at the end of Ramadan.
Yep, yep. That's the long week celebration. Good catch. Okay, seeing none. Just to confirm, we did check the calendar for any standard holidays and important religious holidays, and there does not seem to be a conflict this year, which is great. So on Councilor McDonald's motion, seconded by Councilor Murphy, to approve the City Council 2023 council meetings. It was to adopt, seconded by Councilor Murphy. Clerk will call the roll.
Cologne Hayes.
Yes.
Condon.
Yes.
Crow. Yes. Linehan.
Yes.
McDonald. Yes. Murphy.
Yes.
O'Malley. Sika.
Yes.
Winslow. Yes. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes. Next order of business.
Paper 526-22, order the city council will nominate and vote on council president for 2023 calendar year.
I declare this portion of the, I declare nominations for 2023 council president now open. Councilor Winslow.
Nominate Counselor Barbara Murphy to be council president.
Okay, any discussion?
Second.
We get a lot of seconds. Any discussion? Okay, so we do have Council Winslow nominating Council Murphy, seconded by Councilor Crowe. Any discussion? Councilor Karen Cologne Hayes.
I just had a question. I'm sure you already thought of this, but if you wouldn't mind saying maybe some of what your goals are after the nomination, like, can we do, I'm sure you had that planned, just wanted to make sure. Okay, great.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, seeing none and hearing none, I declare nomination for 2023 Council President, Councilor Crowe seconded. 5 people did, but I saw Councilor Crowe first, so. On Councilor Connor's motion to close nominations, seconded by Councilor Karen Cologne Hayes. Nominations are now all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nominations are now closed. I declare nominations for 2023 Council President now closed. I have a motion from Councilor Winslow to appoint Councilor Murphy as 2023 Council President, seconded by Councilor Peg Crowe. Clerk will call the roll.
Cologne Hayes.
Yes.
Condon.
Yes.
Crowe.
Yes.
Linehan.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
O'Malley. Sika.
Yes.
Winslow. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes. Council Murphy is the 2023 City Council President. Congratulations, Council Murphy. The floor is yours, Council President.
Thank you. Well, not yet.
Well, elect Council President.
Her light's not on.
It's on now.
I think I'm,
It's on.
yes, I'm live now. Yes, Councilor Cologne Hayes. First of all, I want to thank you for your support, all of you, spoken to all of you individually, and we've had some good conversations, and I hope those conversations continue throughout 2023, because that's exactly what I'd like to have. I'd like to have a council where we have dialogue, okay? And Councilor McDonald and I have had a number of conversations about trust. And one of the things that I said to him was, I think respect has to come before trust. And we will bring the Mendez group back in, because I'd like to finish what Councilor Spatafora started this past year and get our norms in place. I think it's very important for all of us to move into 2023 having that piece done. So one of the first things that I will do is try to set up a time for them to come in. The other thing that I would like to do, and I would look to the ordinance committee, is I'd like to get the president's rule book out and updated. So I think that's very important. I know that, you know, Councilor Spatafora has been dying to get that done also. So I'm just going to follow in his footsteps and hoping that we can, you know, get that pushed out of the ordinance committee onto the floor and get that passed. We all celebrated Hanukkah here the other day, and one of the rabbis was talking about hope, and he made us say, hope, 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 very loudly the other night. And it is my hope that we work together as a collective group, and we represent, I know we all individually represent our constituents very well. I'd like to see us, you know, work as a group to try to bolster each other and help each other move through the issues that are important to us in our individual constituencies. I also would like to see, on the, and I actually, not see, I will say this, because I have spoken to some of you about this. The committee appointments, I'm really going to look to all of you and speak to all of you once again. I've had some conversations with you, but I want to go back and reiterate those conversations and make sure that I'm clear on what interests people, where they feel they can add value. I can't promise that you'll wind up on every committee that you want, and you might be on a committee that you don't particularly want, but I'm going to do my best to round out the committees so that, you know, everyone can feel that they're adding value and that they're bringing forth to the community and to the council as a whole the experience and the expertise that they have and that they want to share. So those are some of the things that I'd like to do over the coming year. I'm sure there'll be others, but I do look forward to working with all of you, and I thank you so much for your support and your trust in me that I will do a good job in 2023 representing all of us. Don't. So.
Thank you, Councilor Murphy. Next order of business.
Paper 527-22, Committee Report, Personnel Appointment. Paper 416-22, order that Attorney John McNaught, 72 North Woodcrest Drive, Melrose, Mass. 02176, be moved out favorably to be interviewed by the full council for the position of City Solicitor, after which a vote will be taken to fill the unexpired term created by the resignation of Catherine Fallon, said term to commence upon council confirmation and expire on March 1st, 2025.
On Councilor Amanda Linehan's motion to receive the committee report, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Councilor Amanda Linehan for the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. So as the Vice Chair of the Personnel Committee, I'm pleased to give this update, and we'll just briefly outline the process that we underwent before we hopefully entertain a motion to interview Attorney McNaught. So the Personnel and Appointments Committee convened with our HR Director in executive session over the past few weeks with the intent to review applicants for this position. We did receive 3 resumes. Upon reviewing them, we invited all the candidates to interview. 2 accepted. After completing those, we felt fully confident to put forward Attorney John McNaught as our finalist tonight. It was a unanimous vote of the committee, and I look forward to that interview. Some of the things that really impressed us were his vision for digitizing and organizing the department's records, creating career pathways for retention and career development in the team internally, and also just doing all of this with an eye towards equity and inclusion. We're really looking for someone with a long-term vision, and we really heard that. So with that, I would make a motion that we move to put forward to act favorably to interview.
On Council, any questions for Council Linehan? Okay, seeing none, I do have a second. So on Council Linehan's motion to put forth Attorney John McNaught, correct?
Correct.
For the city solicitor, seconded by Council Condon?
We're voting to interview,
Yep,
yeah.
to interview. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Do you lead the interviews, Counselor? Do I? I think you do. I think you do. We apologize. We're usually not this unorganized. Council Simonelli's not here unexpectedly, so Council Linehan has stepped in as the vice chair to start the process, so just bear with us. And if we're wrong, there's enough lawyers in the room who'll correct us, so. Council Linehan, you have the floor.
Thank you. So Attorney McNaught, I would invite you to come up. We had a wonderful interview process and executive session, but of course, this is a position that deals a lot with things that have a lot of implications for the public, and I'm sure a lot of my colleagues also have questions that they want to ask. But if you could just start off by doing what you did when we first met, maybe tell us a little bit about your background and what prompted you to be interested in the position to just get us started, and then we can go from there.
First and foremost, I'm married 55 years. In a row. Same lady. And I'm honored. I'm honored to be so. We have, obviously, 3 children. They're all in their 50s. We have 11 grandchildren. I got out of Boston College with a degree in accounting and hated the practice of accounting, so I became an adjuster and then a claims supervisor for an insurance company. I then passed the bar in 1975 and went to work for a firm in Boston, and came out to my own firm in 1982 and became a city attorney for the city of Melrose. I had grown up here in Malden, on West Street in Malden, went to Immaculate Conception. Moved up to Melrose when my parents bought a home up there, but missed my friends and came back to Malden Catholic and graduated from there. Been practicing for 47 years now. I've done an enormous number of trials and Mayor of Melrose appointed me, and I'm very proud to have been the city attorney up there, but I'm even more proud that you would nominate me here tonight. I think that's kind of my history. I've been here 9.5 years, serving under Kate Fallon, and I think you know me by now, I hope, and I'll answer any question you have.
Thank you, Counsel McNaught. I will open up Counsel Karen Colon-Hayes.
Thank you. Thank you. I wasn't able, because it was executive session, be able to ask you some questions, so I hope you don't mind. If you could tell us a little bit about your plans for the office, any changes or anything that you think could be, improved?
Well, we're going to digitize. Now, digitize, maybe the public doesn't understand what I mean by that, but our records, our files are completely paper. The storage of our most recent files is in a room on the 4th floor of this building that is floor to ceiling with files. Our cabinets presently in our offices are full with files. Digitizing means we would try to put all that paperwork, all that immense information onto computerized drives so that we could access it for many reasons. Sometimes you don't want to have to do the same thing over again, the research that you've done. Sometimes you need to know what past cases have been with past people who have made either claims against the city or against whom we choose to make claims. So digitizing would help. It would also help with our research. We don't have to print it down all the time. We can just have it in a digitized or computerized file, if you will. Now, as for other plans other than digitizing, I'm going to steal Kate Fallon's thunder. She hired 2 of the best people I could ever imagine for our office. And I've been working with them closely now since the time, of course, Kate left, but also for the time they had been here. Alicia McNeil has been here for more than a year, and Zahir Sami has been with us for a year, if not more. All right? Thank you. In any event, they've been a pleasure to work with. They work very, very hard. You want to keep them. You don't want to lose them. They're your future. I can only say that if you do lose them, you're losing great people, okay? That's how I think your future is going to be here for Malden. They know their stuff, they follow instructions, and they also teach me. So I'm very, very pleased to have them, and I think their hire by Kate Fallon was one of the best things to happen to the city of Malden. Other than that, Kathy Bartlett. Tough to replace Diane, but Kathy Bartlett's been magnificent, okay? But Kathy needs help. We need some more help in there for Kathy. She's doing yeoman's job. And I don't know how she does it all, to be perfectly honest with you. So, Mark Rumley, my right-hand man, he comes in 10, 12 hours a week that he bills. He's there 20, 30 hours a week. He gives me the strength, the effort, the circumstances that maybe I haven't handled before in my 19 years as a municipal attorney. He was the city attorney in Medford, both as an assistant and as the city attorney for many, many years. He's retired. We grabbed him. Well, actually, Kate did, but I'm going to steal that credit too, if I can. So we've got some great people. It's starting to work well, and I'm very, very happy that you have given me the honor to nominate me tonight. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I actually had just a follow-up on that because you touched on something about digitizing all the records.
I did.
Which is going to be a huge endeavor. So I was going to say, do you think do you need more staff? Or do you think that you're equipped? I can't imagine someone taking that on. That's going to be a tremendous amount of work.
Kathy Bartlett did it when she was in PIPS, personnel. So she's got that knowledge, that information, that assistance. Diane will be coming back part-time to help us with that because Diane is the one who put away the closed files, and she put them in a fashion that we'd be able to find them reasonably easy if we don't kill ourselves and the boxes don't fall upon us while we take them down. But the fact of the matter is, Diane will be a big help. Ron Hogan has been through it, and so he has offered to help us. So we're going to have 3 people who have understanding of the process. So it should go, I'm not going to say perfect, we're not through it yet, so we'll see what happens, but I'm happy with what I got.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Steve Winslow.
Yeah, John, well, thank you so much for putting your hat in the ring, and I'm very excited to continue to be working with you. One of the challenges in this setting is that you have a client that's really 11 people plus mayors. How do you address that challenge with yourself and your staff, and how do you handle the work that comes in multiple ways? Thank you.
Well, it's more than just the city council and the mayor, of course. We have department heads. We also have individual employees of the city who, for one reason or another, may have been sued that we owe a duty of defense to, and they may be in any one of the departments that are in our city. So there's a lot of work. How do you do it? Well, you certainly have the wonderful help of the attorneys and the staff behind me, Kathy, and those that are willing to help us, and I'm talking from the various departments, department heads. As I've spoken to you over the years, the 9.5 years I've been here, each of you have helped me in one way or another. We talked, Councilor Winslow, with regard to ordinances and how to get things going. So I think you got to do one thing at a time and have the help of your staff, but so far so good.
Do we have like a case management system, like kind of an intake system? I mean, I know like a litigating firm might do that. I don't know what our setup might be in terms of that.
Well, since August, I have implemented a system whereby we keep a record of every brand-new file that comes in, everything. This way, we have a record of those files, and we can keep an eye on them and give them a date. That means we also know the date when a statute of limitations may fall. It may be that we have to come back to a diary within 30 days, or maybe even 15 days. All of these things come about when you start to put a case list that has this information on it. We didn't have that before. We do now.
Carrie McDonald.
Thank you for being here, Attorney McNaught. Thank you for your service to the city up until this point, and I'm grateful that you're here before us tonight. As Councilor Linehan said, I thought we had a great discussion in the Personnel and Appointments Committee, and as she noted, one of the things we talked about was equity and inclusion in this diverse city. And I wonder if you could share with us in this public setting a little bit more about your commitment and what you shared with us in that first interview.
Gee, I'd like to take credit for the diversity that already exists in our department, but as I said before, Kate Fallon did that, made the hires of very diverse people. And I can see it only occurring in the future. With the 2 people we have, either of the 2 of them, once they get a little more experience under their belt, would make wonderful city solicitors. So I would presently, the day that you nominate me, I would presently say that you can nominate any one of those 2, and you'd be a very happy city council with their experience when 2 years comes, assuming I make it 2 more years. In any event, that's what I have to say about the future. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I also appreciated in our conversation, you noted the impact of the law office can have on so many of our constituents as you, try to help people work through their issues and get appropriate hearing and make sure that folks can access the city's law services, language translation, those kind of things. I really heard those in the forefront of what you are considering as acting city solicitor.
Actively.
Yeah.
I actively consider those now. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you for that commitment, and I look forward to working together with you in the years to come and our excellent city law department staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counsel. Counsel Cronin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank Attorney McNaught really for making our job easy, because you're very impressive in the interview, very impressive the way you appreciate the people that work with you, have worked with you for a number of years. And it was really an easy decision for us to make, and everybody agreed that you're going to make a great city solicitor, because you don't have a problem telling us when we're wrong, and I appreciate that. So, thank you.
Hey, Counsel. Counsel Murphy. President-elect Murphy, I know.
No, that's okay. Councilor Murphy's fine. Councilor McNaught, one of the things that was important question that I asked you that I think it's very important for the public to hear, well, actually I have two questions, but one of them was I had asked you about, did you have an outside law practice?
I do not.
So you will be working 100% for the city of Malden?
Absolutely.
So that was one thing. And the other thing is just a comment during the interview, and I think it's become very clear just in the comments you've made here, but, many times you don't see, a department head or a leader or a manager, they should be, but they're not necessarily thinking of succession planning. And it seems like succession planning is kind of in the topmost of your mind. So I didn't know if you could maybe speak a little bit about that, because I think it's very important for us.
I'd be glad to. When I took this job 9.5 years ago as a part-time assistant city solicitor, I would do my work and then leave at approximately 1 o'clock every day. You don't think about the future of the law department when you're hired at age 67. I'm now 76 years old. So my time here is going to be limited to the end of the term that Kate would have served, Kate Fallon, had she stayed for the entire term. And so I do think about the future of the law department. And that's why in making my own thoughts, my own estimates, my own circumstances, in dealing with these wonderful people that work with me, I have no problem in recommending the future be given to these people who are working so hard and doing so well. I mean, we've had Zahir try a case that was extremely difficult and win it. I won't get into the details of the case. We have Allie McNeil, who is in her own right handling a heavy caseload with regard to present litigation that is, there are two cases that in my mind are just 12 hours a day cases, and she's done an enormously good job during that period of time. So I'm very happy to say to you, keep an eye on these two, and please don't let them go, because they are very, very good lawyers who do a very, very good job. Come March of 2025, assuming I live that long,
Let's hope you will.
You'll be making a decision with regard to that, and you have this time to assess them as I have, and I highly recommend them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counsel Murphy. Counsel Crowe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry, I have a bit of a cold tonight, but I'm really, pleased that you are here tonight, and I know that the Personnel and Appointments Committee really put a lot of effort and energy into sort of figuring out who to put forward, so I'm very happy that it's you. I do know that, I couldn't believe it's 9.5 years, actually. I was surprised at that, but, you've always taken, I think, everyone's call. I think one time I had called and you were on the golf course in Florida and stepped away to answer my questions because I was so kerfuffled with the things that were going on. So I know that you have done a great job for the city, you will continue to do a great job for the city, and I am excited that, you know, some of your goals is to kind of bring others along to make sure that we do have a smooth succession plan after your departure in 2025. So I'm pleased that you're here tonight, and thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Crowe. Councilor Amanda Linehan.
Oh, I don't want to stifle any more questions. I was just putting my light on so that I could make a motion to appoint at the appropriate
Yeah.
time.
Anybody else want to speak on behalf of John? Can I say a few words? So John, just for the general public too, an interview process for certain positions, as some councils already alluded to, are done in executive session, not to hide the questions or to hide the candidates, but it's really to protect some candidates that may be working for other cities or working in a private practice. And this is a unique situation where you do not want to have a candidate or a potential candidate get up in front of a public audience, broadcast on TV, on Facebook, and then tell maybe their current work environment, hey, I'm interviewing for a job. It's not normal, but however, it's part of the process. So if there was two candidates, at that point, we would have to have both candidates come in. So a lot of the questions that you would probably hear in a normal setting were done by the team, and I know they've done a lot of them and have done great work. And I'm sure they've asked all the questions and did their thorough research. I will just say this is, from a personal experience with John, he's probably one of the most ethical individuals I've ever had the opportunity to deal with. He's always been honest and blunt, which is very much appreciated. But when John first called me after Kate's, I would say sudden notice to leave, and John said he was interested in going for the role, I, as president, reached out to all the current team that's before us now and said, you know, Mr. McNaught's going to go for the job. Is there any concerns? Are you going to go for the job? Not that I wanted to stifle it, but I want to see the reactions. And first of all, they all unequivocally said, we think John would be a great fit for us, and we 100% support him. That was several months ago. And it reminds me of a saying my grandmother used to tell me. She said, I don't need to know where you're going. Just tell me who you're going with, and I'll tell you where you're going. And by looking at the audience and seeing his entire staff is here, and knowing them personally, including Mark, who actually baptized, I think, 2 of my children, it is very impressive to see them. We don't see often the entire staff come in. We have a candidate like this, so I think it speaks volumes on John's integrity, his work ethic, and certainly their office. I've been impressed with everybody there. One job as a manager, my personal life is, as a manager, you want to build bench strength. We talk about, diversity and inclusion, which is certainly an important factor, but you want to build bench strength so that when you do take another role, I don't know why John keeps on saying depart and hopefully he lives. It's a little different in this interview. But in any event, when John retires from this role, you have bench strength, right? We didn't have a lot of bench strength in a lot of our departments. We all know that. Never mind the reflectiveness of the community, right? But I feel if you look at the clerk's office, we've done great things there. It's a long process, and I think the same is done here. So besides his legal prowess, his integrity, knowing the law, having experience in the city of Melrose, having the support of his team, there's nobody, that I would want to see in this role for this transition. I know you're saying he wants to stay just for Kate Fallon's point, but I think he would be a great asset to the community. Whether he's here 10 days or 2 years, he's certainly been beneficial for me personally, I think for the council. So I unequivocally support John for the city solicitor's job. Councilor O'Malley's light's on now. Councilor O'Malley.
John, you were one of the reasons why I went to law school. I just want to thank you for that, and I wish you good luck as a solicitor.
Thank you very much.
Councilor Linehan?
I would make a motion to appoint.
On Councilor Linehan's motion to appoint, seconded by Councilor Sika. She jumped first. Clerk, we have to call a roll call. No, roll call? We'll do a roll call.
Cologne Hayes. Yes. Condon. Yes. Crowe. Yes. Linehan. Yes. McDonald. Yes. Murphy. Yes. O'Malley. Yes. Sika. Yes. Winslow. Yes. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
10-0.
10-0. Congratulations. Thank you. Next order of business.
Paper 521-22, Committee Report, the Joint Committee of Rules and Ordinance and Finance, to whom is referred Paper 514 and 515 of 2022. The Standing Committee of Rules and Ordinance, having considered Paper 515-22, make the following report.
On Council Crow's motion to receive the committee report, seconded by? Sika. All those in favor? All those opposed? Councilor Crowe for the committee. Oh, I didn't put you late on Council Crowe, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. And again, I apologize, I have a bit of a cold tonight, so the ordinance committee met just prior to this meeting in a joint meeting with the finance committee. And so we do have our treasurer, Dan Grover here if people have any questions. But so the ordinance right now, all the department heads are in one piece of the ordinance, and then department heads that have unionized are now being moved into sort of a different section of the ordinance to kind of delineate who's who and where they belong. So as we do with all other contracts, this was a contract that was negotiated with the union and the mayor. And as, like I said, with all the other contracts, the ordinance and the finance pieces sort of have to match. So this is to make this ordinance, putting these people in a different section so that when the finance comes in, they actually, the finance paper gets connected to this ordinance paper. So it was voted out unanimously. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. Most people were at the meeting.
Any questions for Council Crowe? Okay,
Then
seeing
make
none
a
and hearing
motion.
none, on Council Crow's motion to enroll the ordinance. Seconded by Councilor Sika. Clerk will call the roll.
Cologne Hayes.
Yes.
Condon. Crowe.
Yes?
Linehan. McDonald.
Yes.
Murphy. O'Malley. Sika.
Yes.
Winslow. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Carries 10-0.
Council Condon?
With
Mike's on.
this is our last meeting of the year, I'd like to make a motion
Yeah, wait a minute.
to ordain.
Yep.
So to suspend
Yep, but any-
docket rules for the purposes of ordaining.
Yep. So on Councilor, this is the last meeting of the year, we'd like to just get this wrapped up, but on Councilor Condon's motion to suspend docket rules for the purposes of ordaining, I do need a second.
Second.
On Councilor Crowe, clerk will call the roll.
Cologne Hayes.
Yes.
Condon.
Yes.
Crowe.
Yes.
Linehan.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Murphy. O'Malley. Sika.
Yes.
Winslow. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes. Rules are suspended. Now on Councilor Condon's motion to ordain, need a second?
Second.
Councilor Crowe, so on Councilor Condon's motion to ordain, seconded by Councilor Crowe. Clerk will call the roll.
Cologne Hayes. Condon.
Yes.
Crowe. Linehan.
Yes.
McDonald. Murphy. O'Malley. Sika.
Yes.
Winslow. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Carries 10-0.
10-0, it is ordained. Thank you. Next order of business.
Paper 522-22, Committee Report, the Joint Committee on Rules and Ordinance of Finance, and was referred Paper 514 and 515 of 2022. The Standing Committee on Finance, having considered Paper 515-22, make the following report.
On Council motions, on Council Murphy's motion to receive the committee report, seconded by Council Sika. All those in favor? All opposed? Council Murphy for the committee.
Yes, as Councilor Crowe said,
Oh, I'm sorry. Again, I keep on forgetting to hit the button. I apologize.
as Councilor Crowe just stated, the union contract has been signed, has been, agreed to and signed by the mayor. So we have changed the ordinance, and now what we're doing is we're moving the money that goes to these specific jobs, the increases that will occur based on the union negotiations with the city. So once again, it's an agreed contract that's been signed off by the mayor. So we are just, moving the money into the right categories so that the individuals can receive their raises, or their increase in salaries.
Any questions? Councilor Karen Cologne Hayes.
Thank you. I also just want to, for anyone here who's watching, reiterate what Councilor Murphy just said. This is something that was signed by the mayor. Basically, we're just approving it. We didn't have much to say in how this goes or what their negotiations went down, so, and there also wasn't a way to vote on them separately. We had to vote on them as a package, so just wanted to have everybody, just let you know about that kind of came to us already completed, and now we're just voting to make it happen.
And just from the floor, that is the normal way union negotiations happen. This is not something that the mayor has done. It's different from any other past union negotiation scenario that has happened over the years. It's, it is done in the executive office and then comes down to the council to amend the ordinance if needed and to change, to move any monies around that need to be moved in order to fund the contract.
Yes, and this is the first time it's ever happening in Malden, so that's, it might cause some confusion, so thank you for clearing that up. It's not for the directors, I'm sorry, a contract for the directors becoming unionized, or unless that's happened before, right? It's the first time.
Well, there's many different groups in the city that over the years have become unionized.
Yeah,
and
this is the first for the directors, though.
For the directors, and there's
Yeah.
other groups within the city too.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
So that's why I just want everybody to know that it's following the same procedure, and it's good that we'll get to read the contract and move this forward. Thank you.
so,
Still on the floor, Counselor.
yes, I'd like
I was just confirming with the clerk if we're going to read the amounts in.
yes, please.
Yep.
So it'd be a transfer from salary reserve, account number 001099651110 to the following accounts. Cemetery Department, account number 001049151110, $2,887.01. Board of Health, 001051051110, $3,416.10. Engineering, 001041151110, $3,416.10. Public Facilities, 001024151110, $3,416.10. City Clerk, 001016151110, $3,416.10. Assessor, 001014151110, $3,416.10. Treasurer, 001014651110, $3,416.10. Inspectional Services, 001024351110, $3,416.10. Information and Technology, 001015551110, $3,501.53. SPCD, 001018251110, $4,201.50. Parking, 001048151110, $4,489.15. Veterans, 001054351110, $3,838.53. Teen Center, 001055051110, $4,032.83. Recreation, 001069951110, $8,290.29. And the Senior Center, 001059951110, $7,890.79, for a total of $63,044.33.
Okay, any questions? Counselor O'Malley.
Yeah, I'm willing to, in support of this. I do have, I think I'm one of the only ones up here who has the contract. And, to Councilor Cologne Hayes's point, it would have been nice to kind of had a chance to review this prior to being asked to change ordinances and to approve budgets related to it, or change orders in our budget. It does look like it was signed by the mayor on November 1st. So it's been about, over a month and a half. I will support it, but I think, in the future, it'd be great to get this type of important information before asking the council to vote on stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions? Counselor Karen Cologne Hayes, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I didn't know, I didn't shut it off. Okay, so there's no other questions. So I have a motion from Counselor Murphy to adopt.
Second.
Okay, Counselor Murphy's motion to adopt, seconded by Counselor Seco. Clerk will call the roll.
Cologne Hayes. Condon? Crow? Linehan? McDonald? Murphy? O'Malley? Seeker?
Yes.
Winslow? Spatafora?
Spatafora, yes.
Carries 10-0.
Okay, next order of business. Do it 528, 528.
Paper 528-22, Committee Report. Finance Paper 512-22, order that the sum of $22,500 is appropriated from available general fund free cash and transferred to Board of Health Recovery Coaches account 0010-510-5103.
On Council Murphy's motion to receive the committee report, all those, seconded by Councilor Seeker, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, Councilor Murphy for the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, this $22,000 is actually to fund a recovery specialist in the Board of Health Department. The $22,500 is actually representative of a half a year's salary, because this position will be filled hopefully on January 3rd, and that will run us through the end of the fiscal year. The money is coming out of free cash, but we did receive an opioid settlement from now Governor-elect Healy, work as Attorney General, and the money actually was put into free cash, which is why it's coming out of there. It couldn't go into an actual revolving account. This position is, I sit on the opioid task force. This position will be reporting to Paul Hammersley, our recovery addiction specialist. It's a much-needed position. Drugs do not know that City Hall is open Monday through Thursday from 9 to 5. Drugs and drug addiction happens 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And this position is to have a person available more nights and weekends to be able to deal with the stress that either a user who's seeking help or a family member who needs help and counseling and direction to help their loved one. The position, as we said, will, work on weekends. It will also spend time with Malden Cares at the Warming Center to try to give support to folks who are, hopefully in recovery or looking to get into recovery and are spending time at our Warming Center. Even though we had a little discussion in the Finance Committee meeting about money, when it's a grant, although there's about 900,000 coming in over, I believe a 16-year period, someone said over the next few years, money does go away, but to me, this is something that we as a council every year need to find the funding for. This topic is just so important to our city to stop. I get so emotional when I talk about this. Just stop what's going on with our family, our friends, our children, the future generation. We need people out there on the streets that can provide support. I know, that's like such a tough topic. But I would hope you to all support this paper. We did post, just so you'll know, we did post the position. We have received a candidate. He has been interviewed, has gone through drug testing, and everything has come back clean. He's ready to start and can actually start January 3rd, which I think is very important to us. One of the other things, we had this conversation at the opioid task force meeting. We always talk about overdoses and fatalities, and we really don't seem to talk about some of the good things that are happening. But Malden Cares, which actually is basically came out of the opioid task force, has been keeping counts of things, and we were very happy at our last meeting to hear that the number of fatalities in Malden and the number of overdoses in Malden has decreased from last year. So we really believe that we are working along the right path, having resource specialists here in City Hall, working with Malden Cares and Malden Overcoming Addiction, and we want to continue that trend and the motion forward to make sure that, if anyone needs help, there's someplace that they can go to find the resources that they need. So I hope everyone would support this evening.
Karen Colon Hayes.
Thank you, and thank you for that. I agree 100% with Councilor Murphy just said. I also worked with Paul Hammersley side by side when we first came in together into office and watched him build this up. I have a background also in social work and working with substance abuse, so this is very important to me. The work that has been done in Malden is fantastic. And I go out, I do watch Malden Cares, so I know the gentleman that is being hired, hopefully, and it's a great choice. And it's something I agree we have to continue to work on. And so a lot of the questions that I asked in the Finance Committee was around grants to make sure that we had funding that would continue and that this wasn't something that for a finite amount of years, because you know, we do need more help on the ground, and it's a 24/7 job. So to have people on the weekends is going to be great. And I had asked Paul, and he said they had 10 recovery coaches, and so this person would report to Paul Hammersley, and then Paul reports to Chris Webb, and it's all under the Board of Health in that department. So I'm really glad this came. I'm so happy to support it, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just would echo what others have said, fully support this. You know, I know, like many of you, especially if you're commuting through the train station, you see the Malden Cares team out there literally every single day. And just in talking to Paul, the work that's going on is necessary and unbelievable. And I think that it's up to us to make this a sustainable position. I think there's clearly the need. You know, I know you manage good teams, and there's a certain point where if people are working nights, weekends, and just constantly, there's only so much comp time you can give. At some point, you need to add capacity and add hours, and what I'm hearing is that that's what we're doing here, and that this is responding to really a documented need, that work is already going on, and we're overextending one person. We need to get more people. So I guess I would just say that as we move forward with this, I'd love to make sure that we're looking to all resources possible to make this sustainable and something that we can afford on an ongoing basis. And I'd love to even see ways that we could get more in-depth programs in the schools and with our youth too. That's one of the things that I know Paul has talked about a lot, is needing to, you know, the outreach that they do is critical, but getting to folks earlier, younger, and doing that education is a huge piece. So hopefully that can fold in at some point as well. But really glad to see this before us and fully support it tonight.
Thank you, Council. Okay, seeing no one else.
Motion to adopt.
Councilor Murphy's motion to, mic's on. Councilor Murphy's motion to adopt, seconded by Councilor Karen Colon Hayes. Clerk, call the roll.
Colon Hayes. Yes. Condon. Yes. Crowe. Yes. Linehan. Yes. McDonald.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
O'Malley. Seeker.
Yes.
Winslow. Spatafora.
It's about 4 years.
Passes 7-0.
Next order of business.
Paper 529-22, Committee Report Finance. Paper 513-22, order that the sum of $1,200,000 is appropriated from available water sewer enterprise fund retains earnings and transferred to water sewer capital account number 6010-450-5860.
On Councilor Murphy's motion to receive the committee report, seconded by Councilor Seeker. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Councilor Murphy for the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President, once again, and we do have our treasurer here who can speak to this also if anyone has any specific questions. But what we talked about in the Finance Committee meeting was that we do have a new director of our water department, Mr. Neville. He has gone through a process of looking at the equipment that he has and versus what he needs in order for his department to be sustainable and be able to work appropriately within the city sewer and water systems. And this money, these monies, will be used to purchase a Vector truck, which basically is like a big vacuum cleaner, a sewer jet truck, which I heard from Councilor Condon tonight, blows out drains. Is that correct? I believe that cleans out the jet cleans out sewers.
We have one.
A Roto-Rooter, a valve truck, a dump truck, and 2 pickup trucks. So we'll basically, we haven't seen the water department, I've been on finance a long time. We have not seen the water department really get any new equipment. DPW has received a lot of new equipment over the years through opera funding, et cetera. So believe this is much needed equipment that will position us to be able to keep our city moving forward and in good shape. So, you know, Mr. Grover's here if anyone has any specific questions.
Council Winslow, this is my, Council Winslow.
Yeah, I know, you know, heading up the ARPA committee focused on water and sewers, and, you know, working right now with Councilor Sika to try to figure out how we can, we have a contractor on queue to help clear out our storm drains and other things, and I know we have what's called the MS4 program, which focuses on, you know, stormwater quality going into our river and stuff like that, and the sewers that, this is an investment that really is necessary. You know, we'll be using our ARPA money to catch up on some of this backed up maintenance, but to know that going forward, our residents can be assured that we are, you know, cleaning out our storm drains, keeping our sewers flowing is very important as we, you know, we got to make sure as we deal with more storms and you're reading about we might have more rain these days than snow. We need to make sure that these systems are operating fully so we can, you know, protect our property as a city as well as our residents' property. So this is a great step. Thanks.
Any other questions? Council O'Malley.
Definitely in support of this financial paper. I do see that it's coming out of the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund, which is funded by our water and sewer rates, so the ratepayers are paying this. So fully in support. I think it's a great use of the funds. One thing I would mention to the council, you know, at the beginning of next year, I'm probably going to put in a paper to ask the council and the administration and the Public Works Committee to really take a look at the city's water rates. You know, I think we've all, over the years, gotten calls about the water rates. There's different rates in terms of, like, if you're a single family or you're using so much versus, like, the different tiers. And Councilor Murphy, you've been correct to indicate in the past that, you know, that penalizes certain multifamily homes. And how can we really kind of take a look at that? So I do think it's connected here. I think this is a great use of the Water and Sewer Enterprise Funds. Maybe that's a project that we can take up when you begin as Council President. And congratulations, I apologize for missing the vote.
Thank you, Councilor O'Malley.
Anybody else? I support this paper too, but I just want to be correct. I didn't want to interrupt it. I think the reason why we haven't seen, first of all, this is certainly a large investment, more than usual, but remember the DPW and the water department were one unit for a while, so I think that's why we never had the ability to just carve it out for the water department. Because we do have, for the residents, we do have that suck truck or the vacuum truck currently. It just doesn't work that well.
It hasn't worked in a while.
You have to update it. So certainly just want to, we have been giving investments, but I know it's now a much needed necessity in terms of some of the larger equipment, which is very costly, but also much of a necessity going forward, so. Okay, seeing no other lights?
Motion to adopt?
On Councilor Crowe, okay, hold on. Councilor Murphy's motion to drop, second by Councilor Crowe. Clerk will call the roll.
Cologne Hayes. Condon. Crowe. Linehan. McDonald. Murphy.
Yes.
O'Malley. Sika. Winslow. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes. Next order of business.
Paper 529-22, committee report. No, I did that one, right?
We're on paper 520-22.
Okay, 520-22, committee report, license petitions, paper 500 through 511 of 2022. The Standing Committee on License, to whom was referred the following papers, have considered the same, making the following report.
On Councilor Sika's motion to receive the committee report, seconded by Councilor Winslow. All those in favor? All those opposed? Councilor Sika for the committee. Well, again, I don't know why I'm not used to turning these lights on today. And I'm turning on Murphy's. Councilor Sika.
Thank you, Council President. The License Committee met this evening, I think, on some of these, and there were no issues per compliance. We recommended that these petitions be granted out favorably, and they're all of them but three, correct? How are we doing this right now?
All got approved.
They all got, no, they all got approved.
But we're
But-
gonna, but there's three that you want to recuse yourself from.
Yes, please.
So we'll take the bunch first, and then we'll come
Okay,
back to
great.
the three.
So just in case anybody's wondering, he's going to skip over 3. I need to recuse myself from those 3, and then we'll vote on those after. Motion to grant.
You're gonna list the ones they're gonna vote on first? Okay, so on Counselor Seeker's motion to grant, seconded by Counselor Condon, clerk will call the
I'll give
licenses.
Okay, so it's license 500-22, petition, open air parking lot license for Robert McNulty of 28 Cedar Street, renewal 14 parking spaces. Paper 501-22, petition, open air parking lot license for TJ Corp. of 315 Pleasant Street, renewal 15 parking spaces. Paper 502-22, petition, extended hours license for MRM Donuts Corp., DBA Dunkin's of 617 Broadway, 7 days, 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. Paper 503-22, petition, Class 2 license, for Top Cars Motors Group of 259 Main Street, renewal 35 cars. Paper 508-22, petition, Class 2 license for Joe Champa, Auto Body Inc. of 322 Eastern Ave, renewal 4 cars. Paper 509-22, petition, Class 2 license for Malden Middlesex Motor Sales Inc. of 129 Charles Street, renewal 15 cars. Paper 510-22, petition, Class 3 license for Malden Middlesex Motor Sales Inc. of 129 Charles Street, renewal. And paper 511-22, petition, Class 3 license for Malden Broadway Auto Body of 590 Broadway, renewal.
Check on Counselor Seeker's motion to approve, seconded by Counselor Winslow. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those approved, licenses are granted. Counselor Seeker, you're making a motion?
Motion to recuse myself for the next 3 licenses. 1 is my father and 2 are my uncle.
Okay, on Counselor Seeker's motion to recuse himself, seconded by Counselor O'Malley. Clerk will call the roll.
Cologne Hayes. Yes. Condon. Yes. Crow. Yes. Linehan. Yes. McDonald. Yes. Murphy.
Yes.
O'Malley. Yes. Seeker.
Yes.
Winslow. Yes. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes. Motion carries. Counselor Seeker is recused. Who's the vice chair? Counselor Winslow, okay.
After Counselor Seeker recused herself, the committee reviewed these 3 licenses, and there were no issues with these from our compliance report, so we voted these out favorably. Thank you.
Yeah, on Counselor Winslow's motion to grant the license, which I'll have the clerk read just for reference, seconded by Counselor Condon. You gonna read the licenses?
Yeah, it's license 504, paper 504-22, petition, Class 2 license for Seekers Automotive Inc. of 1114 Eastern Ave, renewal 2 cars. Paper 506-22, petition, Class 2 license for Regano's Inc. of 1081 Fellsway, renewal 20 cars. And paper 507-22, petition, Class 2 license for Regano's Inc. of 1152 Eastern Ave, 15 cars. It's a renewal.
Questions? Okay, on Counselor Winslow's motion to grant, seconded by Counselor Condon. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Licenses are granted. Next order of business. If Counselor Seeker can hear me, see me, she can come back in. Docket's clear. Counselor Linehan?
I wanted to move to untable the tabled cannabis papers.
Okay,
I'd be willing to only do mine. I didn't mean to lump in someone else's paper. Yeah, no worries.
On Counselor Amanda Linehan's motion to untable what paper, Counselor?
Yep, sorry,
315-22.
hang on, sorry, I'm on the wrong.
No, that's fine.
No, it is 315-22. Sorry, I was just the order. of them
Seconded by
was a little-
Counselor O'Malley. Clerk will call the roll. The cannabis one.
Cologne Hayes. Yes. Condon. Yes. Crow. Linehan.
Yes.
McDonald. Yes. Murphy. No. O'Malley.
Yes.
Seeker.
No.
Simonelli. Oh, he's not here. Winslow.
Winslow, yes.
Spatafora.
No.
6-4.
Carries. Paper is on the dock is not tabled. So Council Linehan, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'll be brief, and I actually want to acknowledge Councilor McDonald's willingness to have filed this amendment. I recognize that it's my paper as the package of legislation that I had put through, but I want to give him a lot of credit, not just for proposing a lot of the language here, but for really going to bat in the planning board when I was out of town and couldn't be there. So I do want to recognize that while my name is on this, this is something that's really been a team effort, and I also want to thank Councilor Crowe for putting this in committee. This has been a long haul. I would like to just see if we can have some discussion tonight and see if we can come to consensus on it, because we've been working on it all year. So just for clarity, the paper that we just untabled is would give the council the ability to make an additional finding on cannabis zoning. So if a proposal came to the Board of Appeal and looking for a variance, the council would still get another bite at the apple to have an evaluation of whether they still want to give a special permit. I view this as something that allows us, as the publicly accountable elected officials on the ballot, to retain some say and to have some control over the fuller picture of when things are coming into our neighborhoods. I think as elected officials, when we hear from residents, we have the most full picture and we have the most accountability, because if residents disagree with our decisions, we can make their choice clear at the ballot box the next year. I feel strongly that the council has the ability to evaluate all of the different aspects that come before us when, as we have done, when cannabis proposals have come before us for a special permit. And this would give us a little bit more of an ability to weigh in when something has made it through years and years and millions of dollars through the process. And as you would see if you read the Clerk's annual report every year, repeatedly applicants are coming up against this roadblock where the parcels that don't require a variance are essentially built out or not available. And so what we have before us now is a scenario where any applicant that comes before us down the line is going to need to come before the city for a variance. And if we don't give ourselves all the tools available to fairly evaluate and see whether, again, based on the full picture of the parcel, not just the dimensional controls, but the parcel in relation to the surrounding community, and listen to constituents, that we're essentially wasting a lot of applicants' time. And I think in the future, any applicant that comes before us that needs any zoning relief, that would not come to us. That would still, that's not something we have an ability to have a say over. That legally has to go to the Board of Appeal. What this paper proposes is to allow the council to have an opportunity to make an additional finding. And I'll stop there. I said I was going to be brief. That was not brief at all, but I want to give Councilor McDonald, if he has any desire to weigh in, since he did write a lot of this language, and again, I want to really credential him for that. This has been a team effort. I do think this is important, and I do think this is part of our due diligence as a council, and that's the spirit in which this is offered. But I know we have a lot of different views up here on our cannabis ordinances, but I think at this point, we've been debating this all year, and I do want to move this forward to a debate.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McDonald, you want the floor?
Yeah, thank you, and thank you, Councilor Linehan, for your leadership in pulling these threads together, working so closely with the Clerk, the Cannabis Licensing and Enforcement Commission members, and our city staff, and so on, to see what can be done. And we've cleaned up a couple of smaller pieces to the code. You know, you mentioned whether we can get to consensus. I'm not really sure that we can on anything in particular related to cannabis at this council, because there are differing opinions. But at least by voting on it today, we, you know, kind of resolve this thing this particular proposal that's been hanging out there. I'll say for myself, this is not, you know, I'm not somebody who is particularly invested in this issue. I'm invested in wanting to see processes work and make sense and be fair. And I think that having taken our cannabis licensing process out for a spin in the last few years, we've now licensed 3 out of our 5 dispensaries, and 1 is now open. And we've learned a little bit more about the process, and I do think there have been different understandings over time of how what applicants can expect in relationship to any flexibility around buffer zones. This is not a proposal to change buffer zones, but as Councilor Linehan said, it does clarify and define the council's ability to make a finding in relationship to buffer zones that it is that would allow us to grant permits if we chose to. In what is already, I believe, the strictest type of licensing process that we have, none of that would change. I think it is very important for residents, abutters, everyone to be able to have their say in these processes. That would be kept. But it would clarify that, especially with existing buildings, there is an ability to consider, for example, if there are train tracks and extenuating circumstances that make it reasonable to help to allow a permit to go forward when the other considerations around the permit make sense. So that's my suggestion. That's what we've had hearings about. That's what as one part of the process, that's what we've had a lot of public comment about at this point. I hope we can just, as I said, even if we cannot get to consensus, have at least state where we are each on this issue, take a vote, and be done with this particular process on this particular proposal, which I think has been difficult. But I appreciate that people have different points of view on this issue. I just want to state mine clearly, that I think giving some more ability to consider extenuating circumstances relative to buffer zones is a fairer process, is more in line with what our community expectations are, and is what we're voting on tonight. So thank you.
Councilor Karen Camone-Hayes.
Thank you. I just want to thank also Councilor Linehan and Councilor McDonald for working so hard and keep pushing along, Councilor Crowe, to find or hopefully come to some kind of agreement between all of us. And I think that what you did and the work that you did really does capture what the people, when we voted yes for cannabis to come to our city, were thinking about. So extenuating circumstances happen so often, and I think that it'll be great to have a way that it comes back to us when something like that does happen, and that we can get a second chance to, speak for our constituents, which is our job. So thank you for your hard work. I'm glad this came off the table, and hopefully it passes.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the work of Councilor Linehan and Councilor McDonald on this. I know, I was looking at the ordinances just this week, and just seeing that, and having been on the Rules and Ordinance the years we were working on this, I know a lot of thought went into trying to come up with a process that was laid out relatively straightforward, and we came up with a process where applicants first go to the Cannabis Licensing and Enforcement Commission to really vet them as an applicant in terms of their trustworthiness and their financial ability to run a business. And then, we put in that ordinance about the next step is an application to special permit. One of the conditions is to have a community meeting, which is also a requirement of the state regulations. And I guess it's a mystery to me how the zoning board, we came into a situation where applications even were considered without first having a community meeting. So I think that I see what's happened as a flawed process, and I think this can help correct that. I think I think that's it. I think that we have had good community processes on the ones that we have had approved, and I think that should be. I like the process that's laid out of having the Clerk, then a community meeting, and then a special permitting process, and I think this fulfills that spirit of what we drafted. And I think that having some gone through the process now and knowing the difficulty, we should look at the council having some ability to look at buffer zones and really see if they are protecting residents or whether they're just being sort of arbitrary. So I think that's the type of thing. So that's why I would support this. Thank you very much. Great.
Thank you, Council Winslow. Councilor Seeker.
Thank you, Councilor Spatafora. Just to give everybody a little reason as to why I voted not to take this off the table this evening is because a couple weeks ago when we were discussing taking it off the table, I think it was 2 weeks ago when then you couldn't the next two, I thought that we had suggested to wait till everybody that was on the council was present. Councilor Simonelli is not here at this evening, so that is why I voted not to take it off the table, to give him, you know, some insight to be able to. I know we said the 20th, Councilor O'Malley, but Councilor Murphy also suggested that, you know, this is a very important issue, and she felt that all of us should be here for this particular vote. With that being said, I think everybody kind of knows where I stand on this. And this paper 31522 is actually has 3 moving parts to it. So if we vote on this paper this evening, we're going to be voting for 3 separate things because there was 3 recommendations that came out of the planning board meeting for this particular paper. So one has to do with existing buildings, one has to do with new buildings, and one has to do with the buffer zones. So I just want to be clear that if we do vote on this evening, that everybody knows they're going to be voting 3 different times for 3 different things on this particular paper. And I also want to go on the record to state that I disagree with Councilor Linehan that any petitioner moving forward will need to have a variance. We actually have a marijuana overlay district in this city that there's not one marijuana petitioner that has come forward for that particular location, and it's Upper 99. It's Upper Broadway. We thought it would be a great location, kind of over near where Garden Remedies already is. I think it starts at like the 600 and say, it's after 600 Broadway, if I remember correctly. It's around the 600 Broadway mark, and it goes up to the Town Line bowling alley. I think the last parcel in the overlay is actually the tattoo shop there, Visible Ink, that's right there. And we have, so we have plenty of parcels up in that overlay district that do not require a variance, and they actually don't even need to meet the 75-foot residential buffer. That overlay district has, it eliminates all buffer zones. And then you have Route 60 from Easton Ave to Linden Square. That is all those parcels, CVS down to Precious Memories, well, maybe not Precious Memories because the buffer zone to the house next door might be, but all those parcels up against there, they don't require a variance. Then you also have Charles Street. Charles Street, no variance is needed. There is a lot of property still in this city that does not require a variance for a buffer zone. Residential, whatever the case may be. There is still quite a bit of property in this city that does not require petitioners to get variances. So I just wanted to make that perfectly clear because there's a lot of misinformation surrounding this cannabis topic, and I just want to be clear and let the public know, as well as some of the councilors, because some of you haven't sat on this committee as long as we've been discussing this. And I think Councilor Crowe and I are the most seasoned in this topic because the majority of these petitioners have actually fallen in between Ward 1 and Ward 8. That's where the zoning happened to lie the most. So if Councilor Crowe had a petitioner, then I would go to those meetings, and if I had a petitioner, then Councilor Crowe would be following along with mine as well. So I am not in favor of removing buffer zones. I am in favor of the first 2 sections of this particular paper, which is the existing, I think the first one is new construction. And then the second one is existing construction, right? With dimensional controls regarding, dimensional controls and parking. And then I am not in support of eliminating buffer zones and having it coming to the full city council. I think that this paper, as much as it was intended for good things, I think that we're only trying to change this requirement because we had a petitioner that did not meet the state requirements on the Board of Appeal to move forward with their license. So I just want to go on the record and say that I am not in favor of removing the third portion of this, but I am in favor of passing the first two. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Crowe. And then we're going to be going, Counselor O'Malley, and then we're going to go into round two. So just Counselor Crowe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I usually had my notes with me, but I wasn't prepared a little tonight. But Council Seeker's right, there is really three parts of it. And the first part is for any new construction that they have to go to get a variance. The second piece is that for existing, only regarding dimensional controls and parking requirements, those go to the special permit granting authority. And again, the third piece is that, that we really treat buffer zones like a dimensional control. And how I kind of view it is the dimensional controls and the parking requirements are how the property works within itself. And the buffer zones are how the property is in relationship with other properties. We do have other kind of uses that, that have buffer zones that all still required to go to the zoning board of appeals. So I will say at the planning board, that piece was unanimously voted to disapprove, that they all believed that it should stay with the zoning board of appeals. Again, I think we're lowering the threshold, and I understand some of the reasons why. Because a dimensional control is it any more detrimental, whereas going to the zoning board, and we do have our city planner who's been at all of these meetings for more specific questions. So I do agree with the planning board that it should stay with the zoning board of appeals.
Thank you, Counsel. Feel better. You sound awful.
Hey, thanks.
Counselor O'Malley.
Thank you. So yeah, similar to Councilor Sika, y'all know how I feel about this. I think that, we're kind of beating a dead horse here to some degree. But again, my position is pretty like consistent. When we passed this, we put in a lot of work for the zoning. The zoning portion was passed while I was chair of ordinance. The process in terms of how we go through approval was done under Councilor Spatafor when he was chair of ordinance. And to Councilor Sika's point, there is a whole section of the city that does have an area where there are no buffer zones. So it's not like this is unheard of. There was, I think, one applicant or one or two applicants that did try to go into that area, but they did not make it past the community engagement meeting. So I do think that we're in a circumstance now where, similar to like Charles Street, the only way we're going to get applicants is if you're ultra wealthy corporation who can afford to buy a giant building and leave half of it empty. That's just not the best use of the space in our community. It's not equitable, and it does not empower our residents to really lead this and actually benefit from the market. So far, it's really just been big corporations. I do think that it's important that we do give residents a chance. And I think I will go back to the whole legislative intent. We always intended for, what we discovered, new construction go to the zoning board of appeals. And tradition was that for any existing construction that you can go to the Board of Appeals if you want to, but you can also go to the special permit granting authority and seek a finding or some type of a relief from the zoning. But our intent always was to treat zoning buffers as a dimensional control. I think that we are now way more informed than we ever have been between the nuances of all those different words. And I think that's good. I think both us and the community, as well as our staff, are more informed now about what the differences between all those are. As we know, we were following a procedure that was not defined in our ordinances and was not reflected in any of the documents that the public would be able to reference. I think it's only fair that we honor what the intent was, even if the language in terms of how it was written and how it was approved, even if it doesn't exactly match what our intent was, I think we have a duty to honor that. I don't know why Applicants who are currently in the pipeline are not being allowed to come before us to have a hearing as a special permit granting authority. Even if they didn't get a variance, you know, I've seen plenty of times where applicants go before the planning board without having their zoning relief, and they're denied because of that. That's an opportunity that we have if we wanted to deny, or we could choose not to. But there's no requirement that you have to go to the zoning board before you can appeal and petition a special permit granting authority. They have every right to come and get their hearing and have their day and have the public come out and speak for or against it and to hear what we have to say. And then we have the right to vote on it, however we see fit. But to not give those applicants the chance to actually have their project heard, what has really happened, and we learned about this in the Verizon showdown related to the small cell antennas, when you do not follow state law, when you do not follow city ordinances, and you violate those laws, people go to court, and courts overturn that. And that's the position that we're in now. We as a body are opening up our city to legal liability. I think that that is not a prudent thing to do. I do think it's best that if we want to pass this, we should. I think it will allow us to avoid a lot of complications. If we don't, then there's a good chance that our ordinance will be invalidated by a court.
Be careful what you're talking about, counsel. There's active litigation, and I don't think you need to be told again. I mean, you borderline touch on ongoing lawsuits, which you know are part of it, and you want to tread. You tread very close, Counselor.
Understood. Yeah. Well, again, that's my sincerely held opinion. It's been consistent over years. And again, I think it's only fair that we treat everyone fairly, give them their chance. If they come up here and to present their project, and we as a body decide to turn them down, then we've done that. Where we're at right now is we are just in a legal peril. I think it's best that we try to fix the ordinance where possible. Another area of our ordinances that do not comply with state law is medicinal marijuana. So right now, medicinal marijuana is de facto banned in our community. Any medicinal project has a 1,500-foot buffer, if I remember correctly. And, you know, that doesn't make sense because we're now allowing recreational marijuana, which is sometimes of a lower quality than medicinal marijuana that, you know, one, is considered medicine for residents and is not taxed. So you're pushing all of those medicinal clients out of the city without us addressing that part of our ordinance. So I don't find it any harm in looking at this. I do find harm in not following state law and city ordinances. And God bless you, Kathy.
Thank you. Counselor, so, Counselor Linehan, I have Counselor Murphy and Condon. You spoke once. Do you mind if I let them speak, or do you want to go right now? No, I was going to. Go ahead. Okay, so Counselor Murphy and then Counselor Condon, then I'll go back to you, Counselor Linehan. I just want to give everybody one time, and then we can go full circle. All right, so thank you, Counselor Linehan, for yielding. Counselor Murphy, you're next, and Counselor Condon, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. There are three, as Counselor Seeker stated, three sections to this, and I'm in favor of the first two. I am not in favor of the third one. Just going back in history, I was very unhappy when the buffer zone was reduced to 75 feet. I thought 150 feet was the appropriate number, but we are at 75 feet at the moment. And going anywhere below that, I think is something that should be left up to the Zoning Board of Appeals. We do have a process, and the process is when people need a variance, they go to the Zoning Board of Appeals. That is their job. That is what they do, okay? And I feel that they do a good job at that. They do give variances when needed. And obviously, there has to be a hardship associated with it. But I think that that's a good bar to have. You don't just walk in and get a variance because you want one. You need to prove why you need one, and then it's debated. And if it's seen as something that's needed, they will grant that variance. I don't see why we, as a city council, want to change that. This is a process that's been going on in this city for a number of years, and I know we're talking about findings versus zoning, et cetera, but that is their genre. That is where they work, not where the city council works. I think one of the other things we need to keep in mind is the planning board works hand in hand, okay, with the zoning board and the city council. You know, we're three separate entities, but when you look at what came out of the planning board when they heard this request, it was, Ms. Romero, am I correct in saying, unanimously turned down? Would you?
Ms. Romero, can you please come to the microphone, please, so we have everything for the record? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle Romero, City Planner. The Planning Board recommendation for this particular paper 315 was unanimous. All 9 of the 9 members present made that recommendation to approve the first 2 amendments of the first 2 subsections and disapproval of the 3rd section regarding buffer zones.
Do you have any reasoning, or do you have their reasoning in front of you as to why they denied?
There was a lengthy hearing, there was a lot of discussion, many of you were present at that, and there were concerns. The first 2 sections that you've referred to specifically are administrative sections. They codify what we're already doing, so they're codifying or putting into law the existing practice the city's been following, not just for this type of special permit, but for all special permits in the city. So that is for new construction, a variance, a project that doesn't meet a variance, a project doesn't meet dimensional controls or parking requirements, a variance from the Board of Appeal needs to be sought. That's how it has been done historically. That's the current protocol for all special permits. So that, again, is for new construction. We just want to codify that. Reference was made to, wasn't clear what we were doing. We've been clear in terms of the staff perspective, what we've been doing now for years. It wasn't codified. This is, again, regarding dimensional and parking. The second part also, there was a lot of discussion about it in terms of dimensional controls and parking requirements for existing buildings. Again, what we have been doing historically, what current protocol is for this particular use, which are marijuana establishment uses, and all of the special permit uses, are the special permit granting authority can grant a finding if there is non-conformance or non-compliance with parking or dimensional controls. That's part of the special permit process. So 1 and 2 of the Planning Board recommendation, they're recommending approval of those because those are administrative provisions. So we're basically just putting into ordinance in plain language, since there appeared to be so much confusion about it when it was originally discussed. And you did do that for all the other special permit uses as well. That was with the other paper 319. So that's what parts 1 and 2 will do. The discussion around 3 regarding disapproval of the buffer zone portion, there was lengthy discussion. We reviewed the memorandum from the city solicitor from May 2022 that discusses in detail why buffer zones are different from dimensional controls and parking requirements. They're not the same thing. They would not be lumped in with the same criteria of review. There's a whole list. I don't want to get into them. There were a lot of outstanding concerns with changing that. Essentially, that provision would remove the review from the Board of Appeal, who could grant a variance in accordance with state criteria we heard mentioned, and move it to a discretionary finding by the special permit granting authority. So if a proposal didn't meet buffer zones, it would move from requiring a variance to in accordance with strict criteria, and it would move into this discretionary finding by the special permit granting authority. I will speak not about the active litigation, but about the litigation that was resolved. And that particular litigation was resolved by the fact that the court upheld the denial of the variance. So that litigation, that part is ended. So the Board of Appeal did not grant a variance. the court upheld that denial. So the court said you're doing the right thing, you applied the right criteria, et cetera, et cetera. So there's no flaw in the process in that sense. I also, if I could just briefly comment on one thing that was mentioned about this legislative intent. I participated in all the meetings and hearings. It is well documented verbally and in writing. It was repeatedly stated at hearings, ordinance committee meetings, city council committee meetings, public hearings, joint public hearings, that if a proposal did not meet a buffer zone, it would require a variance from Board of Appeal. That was repeatedly stated. It was given to us in writing by the city solicitor, was in the planning recommendations, et cetera. So it was well understood that that would be the process that would need to be followed. So I just wanted to clarify that for the record. Again, I could read through some of the concerns that were discussed by the planning board. I think the recommendation speaks for itself. It was unanimous to disapprove that portion of the proposal in 315 that would substantively change how buffer zones are handled.
Thank you, Ms. Romero.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Council Condon, and then I'll go back to Council Linehan, but we have some second round of light. So just, I want to be everybody be clear. So Councilor Condon, first time speaking.
Thank you, Council President. I voted to remove it from the table just for this reason, to allow debate and to either shoot it down or approve it. I don't like papers lingering, being tabled without legitimate reasons to keep it on the table. So, but remembering years back, I supported the 150-foot buffer zone. And I believe Council Murphy was the only other person that did, and the 150 got shot down by a 8-2 or 9-2 vote. So that opened up the door for a 75-foot zone. And that got voted through. But to this day, I still would rather see it 150 feet. I didn't like the Charles Street vote, because that corner down there is going to be a mess. You know, and if you look at what came before the council, I think they only had about 10 parking spaces, which were much less than what was expected. And we still voted it in up here in the council. I happen to think, and I've lost some before the Board of Appeals and Planning Board, but they do a good job. And they have their reasons why they're voting the way they're voting. And I hate to add on more bureaucracy by bringing it forward to us. They could get a variance if they can prove a hardship before the Board of Appeals, and same thing with the Planning Board. You know, they're reasonable too. So I didn't, like I said, I didn't take it off the table to vote for this, because there's parts of it that I definitely agree with the Planning Board. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Council Condon. So I'm going to go back to Council Linehan, and then it goes Councilor Hayes, Councilor Winslow, and Councilor Malley. That's all the second time. I am going to enforce the 3-time rule. Okay, so you're going to yield, Council? Okay, so Councilor Karen Cohen Hayes.
Thank you. So I was at all the meetings as well, and at the planning board meeting. I do remember a couple of people the planning board members were also concerned about a political backlash. That was a big part of a lot of the reasons why some of the people actually didn't want to vote on the planning board, saying that they didn't want to have that political different people come back. What was it?
Point of order, different paper.
Council Seeker, point of order.
Okay, so
Council Seeker.
That's a different paper, Councilor Hayes.
Okay,
That's not the paper, that's off the table.
Okay, got it. So, anyway, with both of them were addressed that night at the planning board. So, There was a discussion about that, so I'm not quite sure what yeah, there was a discussion, so, yep, okay. So, both of those were discussed that night, and I do remember a lot of back and forth with the planning board. But I do want to say also that just because I've heard a lot of the things were always done that way, or we've done this for many years, and that doesn't always necessarily mean it's the best solution. So I'm still in support of this. I have a feeling Council Linehan is going to maybe put it back on the table again. I really appreciate you letting debate come, because this has gone on for a long time. And I think that we should allow ourselves to be able to hear from the public and from people when there are extenuating circumstances. This is not a very clear cut with the buffer zones. There are times where, like, there's fences, there's the bike trail, there's things that we should look at. So I'm still in support of this, however it goes down tonight, and I appreciate you taking it off and the debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Winslow for the second time.
Yeah, no, I just, there's this real focus that the zoning board is some miraculous group that's going to issue variances. I mean, zoning boards really are set up so that when there's an odd parcel of land that's very hard to build something on, that they will allow a variance, because if we overregulate things, it could be considered a taking. So zoning boards of appeal have been set up, and those criteria are very high, so that that it's a true hardship in terms of not being able to build. So I mean, that's really I just don't think the type of thing we're looking at in terms of a if we can vary some things in terms of dimensions, in terms of parking, I think the buffer zone fits more closely into that type of thing. So that's why I think that this body is a better body to make that more discretionary decision versus a very rigid, if you read the findings of the zoning board and the legal decision, the law has an incredibly high standard, which basically no one with a cannabis shop is ever going to be in the position to claim a hardship. That's just the reality. Let's face it. That's just saying, what we're saying is that no one will be able to get a variance from that. It's not to say the zoning board can even issue it. So I think that's one of the things. And I'm not surprised the planning board came back not supporting some flexibility here, because they originally came up with a 150-foot buffer, and I think even before they came up with 150 was even greater. I mean, they supported the 1,500-foot buffer for medical. So they have not been a body that's been particularly supportive of cannabis in the first round. So this body, actually give credit to Councilor Sika, have a lot of respect that she did step up and really push for that special district up, on Broadway. I mean, unfortunately, what the applicants confronted there was that, the neighbors there, even though there's not a buffer zone, they weren't that supportive of at least one of those, I know. So I mean, I think that is the type of thing. So the process allows public input even if we don't have buffers. And I think that's the fact that we have that community meeting, and then we'll have a full hearing with this body. There's plenty of opportunities for public input and to sift through whether a project is worthy or not. So I don't think foisting it off on the zoning board of appeal is just a way for this body to avoid making a thoughtful decision that's good for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor O'Malley for the second time.
Yeah, thank you. I do want to return to the legislative intent conversation, because I think that's really what this turns on. When we passed this, I don't think any of us were as informed as we are now in terms of what the findings are of the Zoning Board of Appeal. As we heard from Councilor Winslow, there's almost no chance that any applicant is ever going to get a variance unless they plan on building on a vertical ledge where they require some type of extreme variance because of the physical attributes of the property. When we were saying that we wanted it to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a variance, our understanding, my understanding, was that they could grant variances similar to the way in which we've asked them to grant variances to the sign design review process. We realized that, you know, there doesn't need to be a hardship. There doesn't need to be these different things when it comes to sign design review. We were expecting the Zoning Board of Appeal to use a different standard than their baseline standard. Probably because none of us understood that if we sent it to them, they would never agree to a variance, because they're not legally allowed to based on the findings that they have to make. So that's how I viewed it. I viewed it as a circumstance more similar to the sign design review process, giving people a way to have their projects looked at in a common sense manner, rather than through the eyes of, you know, extreme hardship or whatever the findings need to be. Subsequent to that, we discovered that the planning board and the city council, as special permit granting authorities, waive zoning ordinance a lot. And the example I continue to point to is Dartmouth Street, or even Charles Street, where we waive the parking requirements. We always viewed the buffer zones as a dimension of control, the way we view parking. And for whatever reason, that's not the way it's being treated by the city. I do think there's a common sense way to resolve this through the staff so that we don't have to be subjected to this. I think another common sense way would be to pass these and amend it, similar to the way we just did it with all the other zoning ordinances. I'll defer to Councilor Linehan. I think that we are at a stalemate. I do know it's before the holidays. The last thing we want is to have a real, robust, crazy conversation. I think that we've pretty much brought this as far as it's going to go. But I hope that we can try to make a meeting of the minds, because I do think the whole small cell thing was kind of a canary in the coal mine. We need to kind of be aware and be reasonable when it comes to this. Thank you.
No other lights, except for Council Linehan. Oh, I gotta put your light, I'm sorry, Council Linehan. Council Linehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I just wanted to thank everyone for their willingness to debate this. I know this is a tough issue. We know that we don't all agree. I think, all things considered, this was a pretty courteous discussion. I did want to acknowledge that my understanding was that we had decided as a body to take this up tonight, and that's why I pulled it off the table or made that motion. It's no disrespect to Councilor Simonelli. He's done a lot of his due diligence, and we spent a lot of time on the phone talking through it, and I appreciate he's really dug in to try to understand this issue. So if the body would like to, I would make a motion to table it in light of the information about Councilor Simonelli. If we feel that it's better suited to bring it up when he's back, I'm also fine if we want to vote it tonight, and as Councilor Sika said, we'll go piece by piece. You know, if it is what it is. I think we're not going to have an agreement on this, but I think we need to vote it sooner or later. I don't think the vote's going to be different when Chris is here, honestly.
I agree.
Okay, I'm fine voting it then. And again, not trying to quash further debate, just wanting to kind of state my intent there.
Okay. Councilor O'Malley for the third time.
Yeah, and this is to the public and to the councilors. And maybe you, the city planner, Romero, could clarify. If a zoning ordinance is disapproved or, what's the wording? Negatively acted upon. Just clarify what impact does that have when the planning board does not recommend something and the council negatively acts upon that? If you could just clarify it for the body and for the public.
So Council, can you just say that,
So if because the planning board voted against.
They made a recommendation.
Certain things. Yeah, they voted against certain
And
parts
if
of
the
it.
council votes against the recommendation.
Or fails to approve. We discovered it doesn't even have to be voted against. It could be, because there's 5-5.
Okay.
It could be fail to approve.
Okay, I get it. I was just trying to understand the
What is the impact? Yeah, I know, I was trying to also.
Okay.
What is the impact of that?
So, Ms. Romero, if you don't mind. I don't know, I don't know if you know, I don't want to put you in the spot. Do you know the answer, or do you have to research it?
Yes,
Okay.
I know the answer.
I knew you knew the answer, but.
So, I believe, Counselor O'Malley, you're talking about the provision that states, which is in our zoning ordinance, section 12.32050, section E, no proposed ordinance amendment which has been unfavorably acted upon by the city council shall be considered on its merits by the city council within 2 years after the date of such unfavorable action, unless the adoption of said amendment is recommended in the final report of the planning board. So in this particular case, that amendment was not recommended by the planning board, so there would be a two-year, what they call a two-year prohibition. I believe you also have a rule, your city council rule, that reflects a 6-month waiting period, but I believe that would apply if it had been favorably recommended and you acted unfavorably, so that doesn't apply in this situation.
Yeah, you still have the floor, Council O'Malley, go ahead.
All right. So for the counselors here, anyone who is in favor of, like, say, a amendment that does not have a majority, you're not going to want to make a motion to approve that, because if that fails, it would be barred for 2 years. So that, tread lightly, y'all.
All right, so let's go to Council Crowe. You're the chair of ordinance. I would probably suggest you make the motion, right? Or at least, we got to read the questions again, because there's 3 questions, right? So the clerk, if you want to read the question. Individually, we're going to vote individually, I'm assuming, yep. Clerk, could you read it and then explain a yes vote and a no vote?
So what I'm gonna do is I have the planning board's recommendation, so I'll
Yep.
read what they're in the recommendation, then I'll just have to go to the recommendation.
And before we begin, we are down 1 counselor, so you would need 7 for it to pass, right? Because you need a majority, correct?
Yep, 2/3.
And it 2/3, correct? And we're down 1, so it's 7. And then there's 3 questions, so there'll be 3 votes, correct? Okay, just for the public, everybody's following along.
So the first one is approval of the proposed amendment of section 12.12.190A, which that's 286. That's 286, yeah. We just find it in this report. That's B.A. Regulation for new buildings to be constructed, section 12.12.190A. Purpose and intent, the proposed amendment is administrative in nature and is to clarify the relief required for violations of dimensional controls and parking requirements for non-compliance with buffer zones. The amendment is to codify the current protocol and administration.
So this is for new construction, correct? Everybody understand? Yes, because we updated the other ones on previous papers. Yeah, there's 3 different questions, correct. Council Crowe? I'm sorry, I gotta turn your mic on. I'm looking at you, expecting.
I don't know if there's any other questions, but.
Yeah, is there any other questions?
So, yeah, make a motion to enroll, and accept the planning board's recommendations to approve.
Okay, so in Council Crowe's.
This is just for, and I think, Michelle, you can reiterate that. In previous papers, we, again, codified that all new, doesn't matter what kind of special permit it is, all new construction is required to go to the Board of Appeals for parking, dimensional controls, buffer zones, any of the things that are not, any of the changes they need. It's actually just putting in the language that is already. All right, so.
Council Crowe, Council, I just want to make sure you get the right paper number? Okay, so that's Council Crowe's motion, motion to enroll, seconded by Council Seeker. Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's a little hard to follow on how it's linked from the docket. When we say part 1, 2, and 3, can we just, for the public trying to follow that at home, where would they find each section? It's very not intuitive when you're reading through the documents. Like, you what? I understand the 3 components, but I don't understand how to explain if people are looking at the agenda right now, which part's 1, which part is 2, which part is 3.
So it's part of the, there's a paper attached to it. It's the planning board's recommendation.
So the full,
You'd have to kind of do what I did. You went to the second page.
yep,
And you'll find this, so they're gonna go right in a row now because they have both papers on this. So this one here is the first one, summary of proposed amendments on it'd be on page
Page
2 of 5 on the bottom.
understood. I see that now. Thank you.
It is, you know, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I understand the substance. I just was not seeing it written down
Yep.
so that I could track it and explain it if someone asked me where to look it up and find it.
No. All right, everybody ready? Clerk will call the roll.
Cologne Hayes.
Yes.
Condon.
Yes.
Crowe.
Yes.
Linehan.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
O'Malley. Sika.
Yes.
Winslow. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Passes 9-1. So the second one is the approval of the proposed amendment to section 12.12.190B, only regarding dimensional controls and parking requirements. And if you look at page 3 of 5, regulations of use existing buildings, section 12.12.190B, dimensional controls and parking requirements, purpose and intent. The proposed amendment is administrative in nature and is to clarify the relief required for violations of dimensional controls and parking requirements. It codifies the current protocol in administration and renders the language of the ordinance consistent with the current interpretation.
So actually, can you read the current zoning and then the proposed zoning? I mean,
Sure.
right.
The current zone is where use of an existing building creates new or increased violations of dimensional controls or parking requirements. The special granting authority may allow the violations under the special permit provided. The special permit granting authority makes a finding the new and increased violations are not more detrimental to the neighborhood. The proposed zoning, the amendment will expressly state the relief required for new increased violations of dimensional controls and parking requirements. If the city makes a finding that any creation or increase in violations of dimensional controls and parking requirements will not be more detrimental to the neighborhood than any new or increased violations of dimensional controls or parking requirements may be allowed by the special permit granting by the city council and shall not require a variance.
Questions? Council Crow's motion?
To approve.
Approved, seconded by? Council Sika. Clerk will call the roll.
Cologne Hayes.
Yes.
Condon.
Yes.
Crowe.
Yes.
Linehan.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
O'Malley. Sika.
Yes.
Winslow. Yes. Spatafora.
Yes.
Carries 9-1.
Council O'Malley makes a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
To what?
Adjourn.
Well, why?
You asked Councilor Murphy. O'Malley.
We're not done. We're in the middle of voting on a paper. What did he say?
Motion to adjourn.
I know it's not debatable. I want to know if we're on the same paper, Council. I'll ask the attorney. I think it's the same paper, Council. We're in the middle of the same paper. It's not a different paper. We're still in the same paper. And if you want to talk about transparency in government, you lied half during your conversation. It's not 3 papers, though. It's not 3 papers, Counselor.
It's the same paper. Here we go.
Transparency in action. Clerk, excuse me. Counselor, can you please make a advisement to us? We are working on one paper. I know you can't debate a motion to adjourn, but we've just taken up two of the papers.
Right, you're in the middle of voting, so because you are in the middle of voting, then you should continue with your vote.
Thank you, Counsel. No. Read the next paper. I'm taking the city solicitor's opinion. Counsel, I will let you speak, but we're not debating this. Our city solicitor just told us the opinion. You are not the city solicitor, you are not an attorney, and while you have your opinion, you think you're smarter than everybody here, I'm taking the opinion of the city solicitor. You can speak for the fourth time.
So again, I made a motion to adjourn.
Yep.
The city solicitor cannot overrule that. The motion to adjourn is not debatable. I mean, if you're not going to allow us to adjourn, 5 members could walk up and you would not have a quorum.
That's fine, let them do that.
We specifically divided the question into 3 so that we could take them up separately.
Yeah, Councilor Winslow seconded.
There's a second on the motion to adjourn. There has been no motion made for this last portion. There's no business currently in front of us. There is no motion on the third portion. We divided the question into 3.
It's one paper, Councilor.
That is a technicality.
I've heard from the legal. Councilor Winslow, you still got a second? Councilor O'Malley, based on the legal opinion?
I guess I have a point of order in that, you know, Councilor Linehan's paper was submitted and came back. There was no amendment to do the separation, so I think that's kind of a little bit of concern I have, is like, have we followed the proper procedure here in terms of, you know, like I say, we did not make a motion to amend her paper to have those 2 parts be separated. We were just acting that way, so we never acted as a body. So that's my.
Let them adjourn. Let them adjourn. Let's vote. Let's vote to adjourn. Let them vote to adjourn. Greg.
Vote to adjourn. Go ahead. You got your paper, Councilor. Transparency in its finest. The biggest liar in the council. Yeah, we get the vote. We're going to take the vote.
Cologne Hayes. Condon.
Oh, we're giving high fives over this now.
Condon.
We're voting to adjourn right now.
Crow. Linehan. McDonald. Murphy. O'Malley. Seeker.
No.
Winslow. Spatafora.
No.
Fails 4-6.
Next part.
Says the third part, disapproval of the proposed amendment of section
Games.
12.12.190B regarding buffer zones. Buffer zones, purpose and intent. The purpose and intent of the amendment regarding buffer zones are unclear. The amendment is substantial and significantly changes the current ordinance regarding buffer zones for marijuana establishment uses, and its necessity is unsubstantiated by ongoing permitting of marijuana establishments in the city. For the details regarding approval permits and applications and exemptions here below on page 5, note 7, buffer zones are unique zoning controls that relate to the use of property and establish specific area and distance. A buffer zone between a proposed use and surrounding properties with other uses. The objective of buffer zone regulations for marijuana establishments, 12.12.190F1, are in accord with and/or as the same as much as the purpose and intent of the city zoning ordinance, 12.04.010, to address the incompatibility of uses, to prevent conflicts between land uses, to protect other properties from potential impacts of particular use, to minimize impacts on abutting and surrounding properties, to conserve the value of land and buildings, to encourage the most appropriate use of land throughout the city. Note 8, the current buffer zone regulations were recently established and is necessitated by the following specific characteristics of Malden. The city is densely populated and densely developed. All uses are the subject of buffer zones, residential, public or private, schools, K through 12, parks, playgrounds, recreation field or facility, religious facility, daycare, are located throughout the city in all zoning districts where marijuana establishments may be proposed.
Council Crowe.
Just want to make sure I get this motion correct. So I make a motion that we accept the planning board recommendation to disapprove this section 12.12.191B regarding buffer zones.
A yes is to deny, disapprove. Right?
To accept the planning board's recommendation.
Accepting the planning board recommendations.
Let me ask. You made a motion, so
To accept the
yes vote
planning
to
board
accept the planning board.
recommendations,
So if you
right.
vote no- if I vote no, we're not accepting the planning board's recommendation.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
So a yes vote means that we're accepting it.
Correct.
The denial.
We're
We're accepting the planning board's recommendation, correct. Council Carey.
I find this confusing.
It is very.
And I wonder if instead you would just allow me to move that we adopt the section over the planning board.
Councilor O'Malley, please, Councilor O'Malley. He has the floor, Councilor, enough. Councilor Carey, you have the floor.
I don't believe that there is any action of this council in this time or in the time in the foreseeable future that will change the outcome of this vote.
I agree.
Councilor O'Malley, just let he has the floor, but you keep over-talking him. Stop, you're the child. You're the child.
I
Councilor,
really-
you have the floor. You just keep talking, don't you? Counselor, I don't know what I need to say. Can you tell him? Because I can't hear you either.
I just wanted to make, I think it's confusing to accept the planning board's recommendation. I don't understand what we're doing as accepting or denying a recommendation from the planning board. We may be following the recommendation, but the planning board doesn't, they're not a committee of the council. So they don't put something on our table in the same way. So my understanding is that if we were following, you can make a motion to follow the recommendation of the planning board, which is to disapprove.
Yes.
Correct.
But that's different from a yes to accept the recommendation of the planning board. So the motion should be no to accept the recommendation of the planning board, and the motion would be to deny.
Yes.
That's what I said.
A yes vote is to deny, a no vote is to.
But can we make it?
To approve.
I just think it's confusing to have a yes vote that is no and a no vote that is yes.
Yeah.
We all understand it, we know.
Yeah, it is confusing. It absolutely, because we're basing it off a recommendation to either accept the recommendation, yes or no. I completely agree with you.
It's very confusing.
It is. There is no,
It's always been like.
there's no,
unfortunately. So just reiterate.
Okay,
one more time.
if everyone,
it's confusing for the public and, because yes would be to accept the planning board's recommendation, which would be to deny. A no would be to not accept the planning board's recommendation, which would be approve.
okay, well, in the future, I may make an amendment to our council rules to allow us to not have such a confusing voting process. Okay.
It all depends on the committee report, right?
Well, you know what we're doing.
It depends how you vote on the committee report, that's what it is, but I understand. All right, so, Councilor Crowe, you made a motion to
Accept the committee report.
accept the committee report. To deny. Correct? I didn't have a second. Second. On Council Murphy's second. So clerk will call the roll.
And a yes is to deny.
And a no is to,
To deny.
yep,
Cologne Hayes.
you got it.
Condon.
You got it right.
Condon, yes. Crowe. Yes. Linehan. McDonald. Murphy.
Yes.
O'Malley. Seeker.
Yes.
Winslow. Spatafora.
Yes.
Fails 5-5.
No.
No, if they both. Yeah, and it can't be brought up for 2 years now.
You don't know, you don't allow anybody personal privilege? Thank you, Counselor. Anybody want, anybody want personal privilege?
I'll take it.
Counselor, all the lights, Counselor Murphy's first, lights.
And I will be very short and sweet. I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas in the middle of Hanukkah, Happy Hanukkah, and a very Happy New Year. Wish everybody just fun with their family and stay safe and enjoy the holidays.
Thank you, Counselor Murphy. Counselor Linehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would join my colleagues in wishing everyone a happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa, winter solstice, Happy New Year. I have something that's a little bit far out, but that our animal control officer asked for me to share. In January, I'm sure a lot of you are fielding a lot of questions about coyote activity. I know Councilor Crowe had a hilarious video this week, well worth watching if you're on Facebook, about her coyote encounter. So we're going to be hosting in the council chambers on Thursday, January 26th at 6 p.m. a forum on the coyote activity, how to be informed, how to be safe, what you need to know. It is going to be televised, and it's also going to take place in person here, and our animal control asked if I could share that tonight, since we won't be back on camera for a few weeks until after the new year. So Coyote Forum, January 26th, that's a Thursday at 6 p.m. on TV and in the chambers. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Counselor Linehan. Counselor Cornyn's taking out the entire balloon motif behind us. Counselor Winslow.
Yes, just wishing everybody a happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and happy Kwanzaa. And just to let we are having the Maplewood menorah lighting tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Yeah, unfortunately, I had asked the advocate to change the date, but they did not get the updated notice in the paper, so there was a little confusion, but it is actually happening tomorrow, 6 o'clock. Councilor Murphy and I and the Our Day family are hosting that, so hope to see some of you out there tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Counselor Winslow. Counselor Sika.
Thank you, Council President, for the last time this year.
This year, yep.
Thank you for leading us for the
Thank
last
you.
year, Councilor Spatafora. I will also keep it short and sweet, too. I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday, whatever holiday it is that you are celebrating with your family over the next couple of weeks. And Happy New Year as well. I just want to thank our Malden Police Department and our Malden Fire Department, along with Councilor Spatafora. The last few days, we've been dropping off our toys for our toy drive. We have successfully given out over 150 kids toys since Sunday. The police came in on their day off and passed out toys to anybody that was in need. We are still accepting last-minute families in need. So if you're still in need up until Friday, or probably Saturday if Detective Kelly has her way, we will be more than happy to help with you. If anybody has any older children's toys, we were short of those today, so if anybody still wants to give it a gift, they can drop it off to the Malden Police Department, to Detective Kelly, anything over like 10 years and older. We received several children today that are over 10, and we're really limited, and we're already out of gift cards. So if anybody, like I said, has anything that they can donate, they could drop it off to the Malden Police Department, to Detective Renee Kelly. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor O'Malley.
With all the excitement, I forgot it was the holidays coming up, and I'm glad we were able to get personal privilege. You know, wishing everyone who's currently celebrating Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas. Don't want to beat a dead horse. Just to kind of clarify to the community and to the council about that last vote, the reason why I was being a stickler about what the wording of the vote was because there was a motion to disprove the proposal or to accept the planning board's recommendation, which is very different than a motion to approve. If it had been a motion to approve and it failed, then it couldn't be brought up for 2 years. But because there was a motion to disapprove and that failed, it can still be brought up in 2 years. Just something to be clarify to the community. It might look like a loss tonight, but it was actually a win. It really is important to read the rules and understand how this all operates. Have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Councilor Karen Cohen-Hayes.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to say what a great weekend I had. Malden Reeds did a wonderful event here at City Hall. They did, all the cultures were represented. There was a Kwanzaa reading and explanation about what that was. And then there was a Hanukkah and menorah lighting on Sunday, which was also an amazing event. So, you know, we might disagree on some things, but when we come together as a community, it's, we're on fire. I just loved every minute of this weekend. And also for Mary Malden, we've also been driving around. This is another thing we all have in common here. We're all going out in the community, delivering gifts to the people in need here. So that's what makes Malden great. And Mary Malden has been doing the same thing. And we've all been working hard. And I just want to thank everybody that's out there volunteering and driving around. Have a great, a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Winter Solstice. Hopefully I got it all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. I don't see any other lights, so I will just wish everybody at home Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. The Winter Solstice is a good one. Happy Kwanzaa. It was a busy year, certainly. And I know a lot of people have been going out and serving the community. It is such a rewarding and joyous feeling to actually give to people in need, and it really gives a reflection, I think, of when you go home and you realize how lucky you are to have a family and a roof over your head and food every night and good food. So I find it rewarding, and every day it's a little bit more of a gift for me. Donations for the warming center, they're still in need of water. I volunteer on Fridays there, and this year there seems to be a little bit less of enthusiasm for volunteering, and certainly water and some supplies. So anybody out there who has that, please drop that off. They're open, I think, at 5. You can talk to the pastor. A lot of great events. I think, I know Councilor Hayes was part of that process, and I don't know all the others, so I don't want to start going through them. But the Hanukkah event, which I saw a lot of my fellow councils here, was great, very festive. A little cold, but very festive, and hopefully they can build upon that, and certainly Council Windsor's having one as well. So, again, have a great New Year, happy holidays, and you only got to get up and leave. Have a good night. On Councilor O'Malley's motion to adjourn, seconded by Councilor Cornyn. All in favor? All opposed? Motion adjourned.